Boom, we're in, man. Mike Norman, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing, Brett?
I'm good. I'm good. This is a long time coming, man. We should have done this a lot sooner.
Yeah, well, hey, everything happens in its time, right?
Yes, I think so. And was good. You know, you text me just half an hour ago. I'm sitting here and I'm like, hey, what are we doing? Let's chat. Let's record this thing. So you're here, you're there, I'm here, and here we go. So
Cool.
it's cool. So you were just mentioning that you kind of in a little bit of a down period. You know, obviously in the college season it's done, and then you move on to kind of the international season. But you also mentioned there's still some things going on in the program. What's happening?
Yeah, we have a couple of we have quite a few Brazilian swimmers on
Mm-hmm.
the team.
Mm-hmm.
When Caio Pamputis, who was a member of our team and just graduated this past year,
Yep.
but that helped us bring in some really good swimmers, and they're preparing for short course. World Short Course Championship trials for Brazil. So there's still that preparation going and making sure they have everything they need. And so that's just sort of the process is you got to take care of you guys.
That's the thing, man. Just it reminded me of one of my favorite songs. You know, like I love Biggie Smalls, and one of his songs is "More Money, More Problems." And that's the thing is like you want you want your program to be successful, right, at the highest level. You've come in, you know, you got this team around you. Courtney's the head coach, and you're all amped up. You're like, all right, let's take the program to the next level. And then you get a swimmer, and he does well, and then he kind of attracts some other swimmers, and now all of a sudden you got some people in. But then you get the situation of like, okay, now kind of like what you're doing is you're coaching these athletes who are at the highest level, but they're all going to different meets. So you got your college season you're preparing them for. In the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, I got to go to these international meets. And then as soon as the summer comes along, you got half your team that wants to kind of go and celebrate and have a good time. The other half want to get serious and go on to big meets. And now all of a sudden your summer's dragging out and then recruiting starts. And so, you know, the better your program gets, the more problems you have, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the thing that's helped is I coached club for so long, and you know started the team that I worked with, and I think the biggest challenge was having a young family and
Mm-hmm.
trying to manage spending time with them.
Mm-hmm.
And but also like you have to be there for practices, you have to be there for meets. There's a lot of travel involved, and there's just a lot of overall work. I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to Chris Davis,
Mm-hmm.
some Atlanta owner and head coach, an awesome coach, great guy. But I was talking to him, and we talked about like when if you're going to be really good at something, it's going to take about 10 to 12 years, and you're going to work 12 hours a day, and that's what it's been like for the past, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah.
But I think you know our family definitely has gotten stronger, and we kind of you find a rhythm. And I have Wednesdays for my son, and Friday and or Saturdays for my wife, and then usually when my daughter's in town, Sundays for her, and then we eat dinner together every night. So we just try to that's the biggest challenge is trying to make time for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, and that'll continue, and that'll be your biggest challenge for forever, man. While you got those kids, it's just part of the work life balance that you got to figure out. And you know, I think Aska's doing a much better job of that these days of pulling coaches in and kind of managing that work life balance and getting everybody kind of talk about it more. You know, I
Yeah.
think mental health is such a big issue amongst athletes, but this work life balance I think is such a huge, crucial key component for coaches and families and keeping them together and keeping good coaches in the industry without losing them to having to sacrifice all this time with their family, you know. But it's interesting. But listen, Mike, you got a story, man, and I love telling people stories. So let's dig into your story a little bit. Like, what is your story, man? How'd you get into swimming?
Wow. um, wow. That's so. I got into swimming. I think that my earliest memory of swimming was I think I was 5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom and we used to go to the pool a little bit, but my mom, I remember just being woken up on Saturday morning. I was living in in Hempstead, New York, and Long Island.
Mm.
And my mom woke me up on Saturday morning. She said, we're going swimming. And it was like a learn to swim program. And the team was Trotz Finman swim team. And I started there and I hated it for like 3 years because I was bone skinny and I would be freezing cold all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just kind of, you know, my family's background was a little bit different. Like my dad grew up playing football, went to school on a football scholarship, ran track. My mom didn't play any sports. She ran track a little bit and then she stopped doing that when she got to college. But my dad was someone who did not let us play football. He didn't let me play football.
Mm.
And he said, you know, just do something different, you know. So stayed in swimming and you know, just I remember seeing like the '84 Olympic Games with Steve Lundquist winning 100 breaststroke, and I was a breaststroker, and I was like, man, I want to do that someday. And so so you know, swam in New York for a couple years, and then made a zone team, and then that's where I met Jim Ellis. And it was like, you know, for as a young swimmer, there were, I mean, you show up at a meet and it's you as maybe the only black swimmer. And I saw Jim on the pool deck, and, you know, he was this coach that had been, you know, having kids that were, you know, competing in 200 backstroke and 100 breaststroke and 500 freestyle. And I hadn't seen black kids do that before. And so, and that's sort of how I got pulled into swimming, and, you know, went to train with Jim for a summer just to try it out. My dad actually seeked him out and then ended up moving there. And, and it was just an awesome experience being with the great Jim Ellis, you know. Yeah.
I want to dig in more to that. I'm going to get into that deep. I want to learn more because that's interesting to me. Super interesting that, you know, a lot of people have talked to Jim Ellis and even told his story, but to get someone who swam for him and be in that group of kids at that time, I want to get your perspective on that. But just going back to your mom for a second, real quick, what gave her that thought of my kids need to swim, getting you up out of bed on Saturday morning to go swim, and being one of the only black people in the water and in the region like that? What's that mindset for her? Why'd she think that?
I don't know. You know, I you know, it's interesting. I never really, you know, I don't know, like, I don't know why she made that decision. You know, I'm glad she made it. I think it was probably something about just wanting her kids to be safe. I think that was important, because we were going to, like, we would go to, like, you know, there was a pool in Hempstead called Lakeview, and we would go to Lakeview pool, but we always stay in the shallow end. Neither one of my parents still to this day can't swim. Wow. But I think it was just, she just wanted us. My only thought is that I think she just wanted us to be safe, you know. And I think my dad, like, when he played football, it was like he had to go play both sides. He played, you know, linebacker, and then he played running back, you know. So and he had a ton of injuries from it, you know. And so he let my brother play football, but didn't let me play football, because back then I was a bony, skinny kid. And he's like, yeah, not for you. You're just gonna keep at what you're doing. And so, yeah, I don't know why she made that decision. I would say that even, you know, where we were located, it was predominantly black neighborhood. So, you know, Trotz Finman, city of Hempstead, or town of Hempstead, excuse me, was majority African American and Latino. Yeah.
Right. But the first swim team you went to was predominantly white then?
No, it was predominantly black. But
okay.
When we would go to certain meets, there might be 4 of us at a meet on the same team. And you know, back in the day, before there wasn't any, you know, 4-hour rule for USA Swimming, there might be 800 kids, and you're the only, you know, 4 black kids at the meet.
Did you feel weird? Did that feel weird for you?
You know, Brett, the first time I was called the N-word was at a swim meet. I was 7, and we were sitting in the you know, in the bullpen. They used to give you blue cards and blue cards for boys and pink cards for girls. And a kid set up and said, "I don't want to sit next to this," you know. And that's my first memory of being called that. And you know, I think at meets we had such a great team culture with all the teams that I went to, that you kind of had like a support system at the meets that you went to, but you definitely felt, I mean, I definitely felt, you know, the tension when I was younger back then, getting on the blocks. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Even going into the meets, and especially as we got better and started going to national level meets, it was definitely there. Yeah.
How long are we talking ago? Are we talking 20, 25 years ago? What are we talking now?
30 years ago.
30 years ago. So 30 years ago, right? You've had that experience, you know, small black community of swimmers around a large white community. I don't think much has changed in 30 years, man.
No. Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong here? Like, what's going on?
No. Yeah, you're 100% right. You know, I think that is probably one of the more frustrating things to see is, you know, we're not capitalizing on all the talent, you know, that's available out there. And there's a ton of it, you know. So
ton of it.
I think that, you know, Jim and where he is and where he was in Philadelphia, you know, the way he built that program allowed him to capitalize on a lot of talent. Right. And I think that, but also like the amount of work that we did, and I think the neighborhood and who our parents were, I think that played a huge role. I mean, most of the families at PDR were, they were blue collar. It was, you know, policemen, you know, teachers, you know, folks that worked for the city, that were born during the Great Depression, and had to really work their tails off to get what they had. So the idea of like not working hard, you know, I think Jim sort of hit a sweet spot in that neighborhood and during that time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we go completely forward, I do want to stay on the Jim Ellis stuff, but I want to say one thing, like in terms of your success and where you are right now. I mean, you're in Division I, one of the top programs in the country. How many black coaches do you think there are in swimming at that Division I level? If you were just to put a rough estimate on it, what do you think?
That I see at meets that I know of?
Yeah.
Not many. I mean, I feel like I may be completely wrong, but I could probably count them on both hands.
Yeah, I was thinking around, you know, I can't think of any more than 10, but certainly no more than 20 total, right? Men and women combined too, you know, like you're a complete outlier. So for someone that has had the success you've had, man, congrats on that in terms of just beating the odds, you know what I mean? And being a trailblazer for your community. We individualize training in the pool, so why not individualize your nutrition? Erica Beine of Beine Wellness Building will help you and your swimmers get exactly what each athlete needs through genetic testing and personalized nutrition plans. So stop guessing what you should and shouldn't be putting into your body. Athletes within a few weeks have noticed they're recovering faster because they're fueling their body with what they need and staying away from what their body hates. Erica understands swimming. She gets it. She's worked with over 20 Olympians, including the fastest man in the world, Caleb Dressel. Group discounts are available, so go to Beine Wellness Building and get in touch with Erica today. That's Beine, Beine, wellnessbuilding.net. Swim Angelfish. Swim Angelfish is an online certification program that strengthens your teaching curriculum to serve swimmers of all abilities. Swim Angelfish will prepare you and your instructors with the skills to teach swimmers with autism, physical disabilities, anxiety, sensory and motor conditions, and more. Learn to teach skills faster and with more comfort with Swim Angelfish. Apply for an Only Alpha Pool Product Scholarship and receive up to 50% off your certification. Go to swimangelfish.com today to apply. Let's go back to Jim Ellis then, because obviously he's world famous with the movie that came out about him and the program, the PDR program, and all those people in it. So what was it like back then, man? What was it? What was the environment?
You know, like Jim. One thing people always ask about, you know, whoever's seen the Pride movie, they always ask about it, and I'll say, you know, it is. I never in a million years thought anyone would make a movie about black swimming in Philadelphia. I you know, so the fact that the movie was made is complete honor, and I think it really. I think it shows a lot of what Jim has done. But my first interaction with Jim, prior to going to Philadelphia, I would usually, you know, we would swim during the year. We would start probably late September, October. You know, April and May, we probably took most of those months off, and then we start in the summer. Then you take, you know, most of August and a little bit of September off. So we weren't like full on year round. But my first practice at Jim at PDR, it was the hardest practice I ever done in my life. Like, I was like, what in the world? Like, it was day one, and I was like, I have a whole summer of this, and I think we did like 8K, and I go to the locker room, and the kids are like, man, we're tapered. I was like, tapered? Like, that was I've never. I mean, and so I was like, and so like the first workout, we were doing a breaststroke set. It was 12 200s breaststroke. I didn't even know you could do 200s of breaststroke. Like I was like, we just did 25s at my old club, you know. And I got out, and I was like, I could not breathe. And Jim walked over to me, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing? Get back in the water and finish the damn set."
Oh, wow, dang!
That was the first workout I had with Jim, and so it was like. Jim is from Pittsburgh originally, and then if you've been to Philadelphia and if you've been to where the pool is, you understand how tough that city is. And I was a kid from Long Island, which is pretty much a suburb, and there's some tough parts, but it was nothing like Philadelphia. And so the environment was very hard work. One of the things that Jim was adamant about was like, I mean, the color of your skin, yeah, fine, that mattered, but it was more so like, you are good, you guys are good, and we're going to outwork everybody, and we're going to do it better than everyone. And so the workouts, like, you know, we trained during the year. It was you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, you know, we'd get 7,500 in, and at night we'd come back Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you get in, you know, 8 to 9K, and then Tuesday, Thursday we'd do about 12, and then Saturday we would bang out, like, it was like a 4-hour practice, you know. And I just remember, you know, we'd have like an hour and a half left, and I could remember Jim saying like, all right, 16 400s. I was like, do we have time for that? And you know, so it was, you know,
Jim, man, Jim's old school. I didn't realize that.
It was like an arms race in swimming back then, where like Dick Schulberg was doing 100K, and Jim was racing them. But I think Jim came with so much energy and excitement and passion, and you know, Jim is a mathematician by trade. He's brilliant. And a lot of the training we did, it was almost like the color system, but it was like, you know, 85% effort, 95% effort. We knew what times we had to hold on all of our sets. So even though it was a lot of work, it still had purpose, but it was tough. It was tough. Yeah. And it was a great, like, it was a tough team. Like, we just held each other accountable. We spent all of our time together, but it was just an awesome experience to be a part of that.
Was it all black at that time, or was there any white kids at all?
Yeah, there were. So, you know, it's like the majority were black kids, but then when we started making junior nationals and started winning, we had kids from all over the city, you know, come and join the program. So kids from like Chestnut Hill and different parts of, different parts of Philadelphia. People came because, you know, Jim was just, he was producing. And so I think that's actually, I think it made our team better because the people that came to the program, they were changed. You know, how many kids come into the city to train at a pool like that, which just was a regular like 8-lane 25-yard pool in the middle of a place called, like, an ironic name, like, you know, Nice Town. It was one of the roughest parts of Philadelphia, and these kids were coming from the suburbs into Philadelphia to swim. You know, and I think that's like you know, the Pride movie. I wish they had just told the regular story, because, you know, I think my understanding was Jim went around the neighborhood to tell everybody, look, these kids are coming from the subway. You know, we would come from Hunting Park Station and walk over to Germantown Avenue and stop, and that's where the rec center was. And I think he went in the neighborhood and told them, like, they're not selling drugs, they're not carrying anything. We just need safe passage for them to the pool. And so, you know, that was the thing that we saw the movie about, how, like, you know, in the movie, Terrence Howard played the coach and he was real calm and laid back. That was not Jim Ellis at all. Like, he would get in you if you know, he was a tough, great coach.
Yeah, tough, but you knew he cared, and you knew it was coming from a place of love. It wasn't like nasty tough, you know.
Yeah. Well, we ate dinner together a lot.
Right.
You know, we spent a lot of time together.
Right.
So yeah, it was. You're fine as a coach. I mean, if you have that relationship with your athletes where you're close and they know. We saw how Jim was, like, there are times where he didn't have a car, but he was at practice at 5 a.m. So we saw the dedication. He joked around with us a lot. He made us tough, but, like, when he yelled at you, it wasn't, you know, if he was on you, it wasn't like it was justified. He
wasn't belittling you in front of everybody. He's just challenging you. Yeah. Well, that's good lessons too for you as a coach now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to know who that first white kid was that turned up to the program. You know?
I think there were a group of awesome folks from it was like Brian Walters, Rob Walters, Allison Goodner, Colin Robinson. Colin and I went to high school together. He was from a place in Philly called Roxborough, and so we just had, like, a ton of, like, I think by my senior year it was a huge mix. Kyle Salyers, Kyle Salyers was So we just had a ton of like BJ Federici. We had a bunch of kids from all different walks of you know, all different neighborhoods in Philadelphia. And you know, mind you, Philadelphia, there's Italian parts of Philadelphia, there's Irish parts of Philadelphia, there's, you know, it was pretty awesome to see, like, the pool and the team that we had. We really were a unit. We loved each other. So I think it's cool to have that. Yeah.
What about your path to Georgia? How did you get there?
You know, it was interesting. Like, I think I was looking at, you know, I think with every swimmer that has an opportunity to swim, you know, at the collegiate level, you know, you look at the biggest schools. So I was looking at Michigan. I was looking at, you know, looked at Florida, looked at Southern Cal, and was looking at Virginia. And then one of my teammates' parents went to school with Jack Baurle at LaSalle High School. And so they were good friends. And he called him and he said, you know, Jack, you need to come look at this kid. And Georgia was nowhere, like, it wasn't even on the radar, you know. And so, you know, but we were open-minded, and I was like, let's take a look at it. And so I visited, I only took 3 visits. I took a visit to Florida, I took a visit to Southern Cal, and I visited Georgia. I remember talking to John Urbanchek, and he was like, you know, he was selling the program, and he was like, yeah, you know, it gets dark at 3:45, and we go to school in tunnels, and he lost me right there. It's like I'm waking up at 4 in the morning and it's negative 10 degrees now and it's colder in Michigan. I was like, I looked all at warm places. So, but Jack, I think, you know, I met, you know, I think Chris Martin was the head coach at Florida. Mark Schubert was at Southern Cal, and then I met Jack. And I just felt like Jack was the most genuine coach that I'd met, and was, you know, he did a great job recruiting, because I come from a family of teachers. My dad is a professor. My mom taught school for 50 years. My brother's a superintendent now. I was an education major, so Jack understood how important education was in my family, and it's really what pulled, you know, my mom and dad out of poverty. You know, so for me, it was about, like, you know, Jack set up a meeting where I was looking at, I wanted to go into education. I met the education, you know, I went to, you know, different classes, talked to the dean of the education, School of Education, and he just understood, you know, that I wasn't just there to swim. And so I think Georgia, the weather was beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt like it was a program, you know, that could grow. And there were 2 other breaststrokers there, Barry Wynn and Gabe Vasquez, that were both 159 breaststrokers back then. And I was like, I get a chance to race these guys every day. So, and the pool, compared to what Philadelphia was, I thought, you know, the old Stegman pool at Georgia I was like, man, this is beautiful. And because it looked clean, you know, it was a 50-meter pool, it was water. Yeah. And then I remember going to my first meet at Auburn, and I was like, wow. And I think Auburn had just built the new pool. But I got down to Georgia because I just felt like it was the place that felt like home at that point in time, you know. And I didn't want to be in a city, because I was leaving a city where you're having to look behind your back and So
get out of there. Come down south. That's cool. I like that. And you did mention the other program. When was the first time you get to Georgia and you realize you have to race against Auburn?
Freshman, I mean, I think it was like, when was it? I think Auburn might have been our first or second meet. I can't remember.
What was your freshman year? What year was that?
93.
93. Oh, so you're actually, you and I are the same age. So like, I finished high school in 92, but I didn't come to college until 96. So I was 21 when I came to college. So we're the same age, but we have. When was your senior year?
So my senior was actually 98. I took a year and went back to Philadelphia to train with Jim.
Yeah. Okay. So we did overlap. I knew we overlapped at some point. Yeah. So, but yeah, the whole Auburn Georgia rivalry, I guess, was kind of kicking into gear around that time. You know, like we were good. We were getting good around that time, and you guys were good. So certainly had some battles, huh?
Absolutely. You guys had an awesome sprint group, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a lot of the innovation in swimming happening at Auburn. You know, and we would hear about it. We would see it in your you know, in the competitions. And it was, you know, still a lot of what was done at Auburn back then it's interesting to see how commonplace it is now, but how different it was and how outside of the box it was back then.
Dude, power swimming, man. We didn't like power swimming, I swear, was invented at Auburn in terms of the way that power swimming's done today. I mean, I think it had its genesis, kind of foundations at Auburn, right? Mike Bottom was certainly part of that, you know, and Dave Marsh is the head coach, but I hadn't seen anything like that either, man. I'm a sprinter who was really pretty good, and I came to Auburn for the first time at the age of 21, and I had never done workouts like that. I mean, we're doing 10-meter sprints across the diving well, you know, and that's it. That's training. And like, what is this? This is madness, you know, like, but it's so intense for 2 hours, and then they're incorporating equipment, and then it's like you're doing this, and it's like, what is this kind of workout? And that was the beginnings of power training, man. to see it incorporated almost into every single program now.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to have been part of that. But yeah, I guess swimming in the SEC was fun, man. There was a lot of interesting characters, a lot of interesting coaches and teams, and I'm sure you had a good 4 years. You have a good experience at Georgia.
Yeah, I loved it. I think, if you go to college and it doesn't change you, then I don't know if you do college right. I think it was such a learning experience for everyone involved. Like, I felt like my teammates, had exposure to someone that they probably normally wouldn't have had exposure to in a more personal way. When you're rooming with people, I think, and there were other, like Alan Murray was on Georgia before me, and then it was myself and I think Dorian. So we were the young. Dorian was from the Bahamas. I was from came out of Philadelphia, and so like there were a lot of questions about like where I'm from. I remember I had one kid that was like, it must have been tough growing up in the projects in Philadelphia. I was like, I'm not from the projects. I was like, nothing against anybody from the projects, but my dad is a professor, so I think we grew a lot and really became family. Yeah. And I think the, my experience with just, regular students at Georgia, like my junior, senior year was great. I think every athlete leaves the sport, thinking what could I've done differently to get a little bit better. But, and I think as coaches, you have, a lifetime to get it right. And as an athlete back then you had maybe 4 years, 5 years to get it right. So I think, I had so much success long course, and was better long course than I was at short course. I just could not get the turns right. I had a slow stroke. And so I think that what Jack taught me and what, the relationships that I had with, friends that I went to school with at Georgia. It was awesome. Andy Griffin, who coaches here in Atlanta, Heath Edwards, Dave Messenger, Atiba Wade.
Atiba, man, my boy Atiba. I love Atiba.
Bobby Brewer, those are guys that we we left a legacy. I think when I came in, we were like 30th in the country, and by our junior year, we were third in the country. So that I felt, that we were part of that process to help bring the men's team forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Georgia being a powerhouse for us, man. It was always like a challenge to race you guys as a group, and we I think the only place we got you was kind of in the sprinting. You guys would get us kind of everywhere else, but yeah, some fun times, man. Definitely shaped my life for sure. Vasa has been the go-to training tool outside of the pool for over 30 years. Vasa's products are ideal for developing power and proper technique in your swimmer's catch. Add a few Vasa trainers to your pool deck, and it's like adding an extra lane to your swimming pool. Go to vasatrainer.com, use code BRED at checkout, and get 10% off anything from Vasa. Destro Swim Towers. Gain strength in the water with a tower of power. Save $150 per double swim tower by using code BRETT, B-R-E-T-T, at checkout. DestroMachines.com. Did you think from that moment when you left college that you were going to go into coaching?
I was really sort of dead set on becoming a teacher. And I think coaching is a lot like teaching, but I was going to be follow the path of, my family members and be a high school history teacher. And I thought about coaching a little bit, but, I started giving lessons when I was in college, and it was great because when I started giving lessons, I became a better swimmer. When you have to explain something to someone, it really makes you hold yourself accountable. Like, I'm telling this little kid to learn how to do it this way. Or if you're learning how to explain freestyle to a 3-year-old.
Mm.
It teaches you how to think about things differently, and I think that was something that was super helpful. But I enjoyed that experience. I didn't, actually, when I graduated, I actually started working for Morgan Stanley in Athens as a financial advisor, and then I went in when they shut that office down in Athens when the tech bubble burst. I went to work for First Union in Atlanta, which became Wachovia, which became Wells Fargo. And, always, my wife was like, you need to teach your daughter how to swim. I was like, all right. She was like 4, I think. So, I went to the City of Atlanta pool, started teaching her how to swim. And I look up and there's like 20 kids around me. Can you show me how to do this? Can you teach me how to swim? So, and we work with those kids and put my daughter aside, and my wife was like, you should get back into coaching. And I did. And that was kind of what pulled me back into coaching. And I had, when I didn't end my swimming career the way I wanted to. So I was totally oblivious to all the changes that took place. And, when I started, I think I started coaching back in 2003, I want to say 2002. And I remember, coaching my first workout, and a kid did a breaststroke pullout and he did a dolphin kick. And I was like, this kid is cheating on every single lap. And I was like, stop doing a breaststroke, stop doing a dolphin kick on a pullout. And then they were like, Mike, it's legal now. I was like, what? But,
what? I could have been so much faster than let me do a damn dolphin
how's
kick.
that a thing? So so I was like, I'm yelling at the kid because he's cheating, and they're like, no, you can do that. So I think with my coaching career, it just became, at first it was like, I'll coach 3 days a week. And then, the next year, Melissa at DeKalb Aquatics, Melissa Wilburn, she went to Auburn, actually. She's the one that gave me the first shot. And, and she was awesome, great coach, great person. And she sort of gave me a group and said, coach him. And so like, it just, every year I got it, it just, coaching becomes a part of you. It kind of calls you, and you get addicted to it. That's why I talked to my wife about, like, coaching is sort of an addiction. You love reading about it, learning about it, thinking about it. And that just happened more and more. So around 2012, I asked my wife, I was like, hey, I think I want to go full time into coaching and start a swim lessons business. And she said, all right, you can go. I support you 100%. All my friends supported me. And my wife was just like, just hold on to your suits and your shoes just in case it doesn't work out. But I did that, and never really looked back. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, man. Tell us about that first team that you built from scratch.
Oh, it was, we make a joke. We had more coaches than we had swimmers. We had, then we had like 4 coaches. Cause in my mind, I was like, we're going to open up this program. It's going to be awesome. And it was, but there were only like 7 kids the first month. And then it grew to like 25 at the end of the first year. And, and that's when I had like Dean Ferris, John Mitchell, Chris Thames, Max Walker. We had a ton of awesome kids, and they were young, and that's really where I cut my teeth on really understanding how to get better. I think the detail that we had a small team, and we had to, to survive and to grow, we're racing, Dynamo and Swim Atlanta. And so we had to outcoach everybody, and they had to outperform in order for us to last, but also for them to get to the level that that I thought they were capable of. That's where a little bit of Jim Ellis, came into play, and sort of challenging that energy and that effort and that passion to making the program work. And we spent all of our time together. We ate dinner together. The parents were awesome, and so I think that building that program was very difficult. We talk about the family piece because maybe about 2 years into building the program, City of Atlanta did not want to. They just, they wanted to keep it more internal for Atlanta. So, it forced us to get a pool, an outdoor pool, put a tent over it so that our team could keep going. And that was probably the most challenging time I've ever had as a coach is having to, and the pool, I thought it would be great because the pool was right across the street from our house. It was a nightmare. It was like you're just constantly cleaning bathrooms, cleaning the pool, checking the heaters. But some of the best coaching happened then. And I think there was a time where we had to transition into that pool, and I couldn't afford to pay myself. So I took a job at night working on a forklift. My friend who runs a trekking company was like, look, I gotta make money, but I can't. I gotta coach during the in the evening, so I need something at night or during the day so I can get to the pool and coach. And he gave me a job. It was good money working a forklift. And I remember the first night, like sitting on the forklift, I was like, I'm doing all this for coaching, And I think, but I wouldn't have been able to do that had it not been for Jim Ellis, had it not been for Jack, had it not been for my wife who stood by and supported it, and my kids. And I wouldn't have been able to, draw off my father's story for how he came up and what he had to do to make it through that very difficult time frame. So that's kind of shaped, shapes our program today. It shapes me of who I am, and it's been awesome. It's been it wasn't fun back then, but looking back on it, I'm glad I went through it.
That's what I mean, man. Like trailblazer. Maybe we need a pride too. How about that? Let's get that going. You never know. Wait, do you have goals then now that are bigger than where you are? I mean, you've achieved incredible amounts in this time, right? And you're coaching some of the best swimmers in the world, one of the best programs. But do you have personal goals beyond that, or are you happy where you're at?
I love Georgia Tech. I love being here. I love, because part of the process is like you work, you have to wait 2 years to see the kids that you're recruiting now, and so like I'm so excited for this class coming in. And I think, Brett, this as a coach, like you just have this loyalty to your swimmers, where you want them to do well. You want to develop them. You want to see them, reach the highest limit. And the really good swimmers kind of lead you a little bit, and you learn more than, you learn more from them than they learn from you, And so I feel like I kind of just take things one day at a time, and I'm learning so much at Tech here, where just from the whole college experience, I'm going into my 5th year of coaching college, and it has been a great learning experience. So, I want to, I just want to continue to learn, because I feel like as much as I read, as much as I study, I still feel like there's so many awesome coaches out there that have incredible ideas, and I want some of that, I love being on the pool deck, coaching, the day-to-day work and thinking about things differently and learning from you. Like I texted you because I was looking at a video on Championship Products of looking at the start, and I was like, man, this is still good information, still relevant. So I think for me, it's always looking at opportunities to work with great people and good athletes, and also always being in a situation where you have the freedom to develop and create, and having the support, of whatever administration you're working with. So I think that's, I always want to, I would love to send some kids to more kids to international teams, and, get some, All-Americans and getting some, helping getting Georgia Tech, having some people on those, U.S. national teams. And
right.
So, yeah.
Let's get you on there too with them. And You're right. I find the most successful coaches are inquisitive, man. You're always asking questions, and you're always interested in learning, and then, like you said, you're out there creating and you know pushing yourself to different limits. It's like you ask questions, and then you go out there and you're like, okay, how can I apply this now, and how can I use my own talents and gifts to get something else? I think the sky's the limit for you, man, in that sense, and you should really start to dream big if you haven't already. You're at a point now where you're getting athletes who could potentially start to get on podiums at world championships and Olympic games, man. And how cool would it be? And listen, I'm telling you this from experience. When one of your athletes gets on the top of the podium at the Olympics, you feel like you got on there too. Like you just do. It just feels incredible. And I remember just crying when Caesar won the Olympic gold medal, because it was like, man, I just feel part of that. Like you said, you're eating dinner with these kids. You're putting everything you can in. You're learning more from them than they're learning from you. So like you feel so part of that accomplishment, and you're just in a position now where that's going to happen for you. Like you're going to get kids on these podiums here soon, if it hasn't happened already, but especially the Olympic Games. And I want that for you, man. I think you're ready for that, and you're the right type of guy to get someone to do that. I really want that for you. So that'd be cool. Actually, we're sitting here in real time right now, and I'm gonna be honest with you. One of my experiences that I had was in Rome. One of my most memorable experiences was in Rome, where Caesar broke the world record in the 100 freestyle. And we're actually sitting here in real time right now. David Popovich is on the blocks. Sergio Lopez is texting me right now as I'm talking to you. And he's giving me a blow-by-blow on this world record status, because I want this world record to go, man. I've lived with this thing for a while, and it was one of my favorite memories. But I want to pass it on, and I hope this kid gets it. So maybe in the next 30 seconds, I might get a text message from Sergio saying, but we're all excited. But yeah, it's just swimming's cool, man. It does those things, like especially once you get to that level where you get these kids where two things, you're taking them to where they thought they could never get, right, or beyond what they thought they were capable of producing out of themselves. And that could be just on a daily basis in training. Like I've had some swimmers come out and be like, Coach, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could push that hard. I didn't know I could swim that fast. I didn't know I could compete that hard. Like that's a good feeling for me. And then you get a swimmer who eventually breaks a world record and pushes the boundary of human capability as well. And that's what I love about swimming, man. To get those moments, to me, is really cool. Yeah.
I think the thing I love about swimming too is, like you said, like I think I live for the moments to see someone that has done the work celebrate, their accomplishment, and seeing a swimmer be happy, and that high that lasts for them for a long time, like that. The energy, I think it feeds you, but that you want to see them be successful. And I think I think it validates the work that you've put into helping them be successful, so that, they can celebrate that moment. And it's, to be able to stand back and watch someone stand on the podium and smile is awesome. It's I think that's what I got into coaching for. One of the things I got into coaching for.
Yeah. Well, listen, if people are like you and they're young and they're looking for a program like you were with Georgia and a mentor in Jack, if they're looking for that now, you can't find a better person than you. You can't find a better program than Georgia Tech. You can't find a better school. I mean, your school is legitimately up there with some of the best schools in the country. It's a really good school if you're looking for one. But just getting to know you and listening to you speak, man, who wouldn't want to be mentored by you and coached by you? I mean, I'd fight for you any day of the week. So I hope a lot of kids look at you and Courtney and what you guys are doing at Georgia Tech, because it's a beautiful pool. I mean, Olympic pool, right? 96. And you got everything you need. But the most important thing, you got coaches that care about you. So I hope a lot of kids check you out, because I definitely swim for you, like I said. So
I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. This has been good, man. I've enjoyed getting to know you more here, and good luck. What's on the near horizon? What's coming up for you that's close?
Well, we have couple swimmers that are gearing up for Brazilian World Short Course Championships. And, you know, beyond that, we have, you know, Nick Fink is here. And so just plotting that out for the next year or so, and figuring out, you know, how to manage that process, and figuring out where we can go with that. And really at Tech, just making everything, you know, just really growing and constantly evolving with team culture, and getting a chance to work with all these coaches. So I think it's sort of back to the grind, or staying on the grind right now, just learning and you know, getting everyone ready and seeing what we can do.
Awesome, man. Well, very exciting, and good luck with everything. I will give everybody an update because I did mention it. So Popovich did not break the world record, but came very close. 46.98. 46.98.
Wow.
I think he's now the third man under 47. So I mean, this kid's getting close, man. I love this kid. He's awesome too.
Beautiful
he's
stroke.
Gonna get it.
Beautiful
Beautiful
stroke.
stroke.
Just a matter of time.
Talk about technique and just studying a technique, and even a mindset. Like this kid's mindset, I could listen to him speak all day. I could watch him swim all day. I mean, that you talk about learning, you know, like I'm learning from this 18-year-old, you know. It's just like, what? I don't even know if he's 18 yet. He's probably still 17. So
yeah, he's an incredible, like, it's swimmers like that just kind of float across the water, and and it's so rare to have someone that is, you know, that talented and that dedicated, you know. Yeah.
Well, I hope one drops into your lap soon, man. Get one for yourself.
We got
fun
to
work with. Good luck. Hey, appreciate this, man. Thanks. And this will actually come out in a couple of days, and you know, get it out to the world. So I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Take care, Brett. Thank you.
Thank you. Event, heat, lane, name of swimmer, times and places. It's called Swim Nerd Live, and it allows the data and times from your actual scoreboard to be broadcast and viewed in real time on any smart TV, phone, or other device. There are so many things you can do with this software. A very simple and easy to use necessity for any team or facility that is live streaming their meets results. One click on any device and they're watching your swim meet live in real time. Go to swimpractice.com to learn more.